Yingying Zhang arrived in the United States from China, invited by the prestigious University of Illinois. Her heart was full of hope, and she was meticulously planning a wedding with her fiancé back home. Tragically, she would never have the chance to wear her wedding dress. Just 6 weeks after setting foot in America, Yingying's journey was brutally cut short. She was born on December 21, 1990. Yingying was a brilliant environmental scholar from China. She had proudly earned her master's degree in environmental engineering from Beijing University. A truly intelligent woman, her ambition was to become a respected scientist. People knew her as an open, bright, and cheerful soul who loved to sing and played guitar for a band called Cute Horse in Ningping, the city where she grew up. This was a woman of many talents. In April 2017, the 26-year-old embarked on a year-long academic adventure in Champaign, Illinois, at the invitation of the University of Illinois. Her focus was on plant and water sciences within the Department of Natural Resources, with plans to later pursue her doctorate back in China. It was in China where she had met her fiancé, Xiaolan Ho, during their high school years. They were a power couple, both top students who had been dating for several years. Their plan was simple and beautiful. They would get married as soon as she returned home. She had already chosen her dress and was even dreaming of starting a family. But these dreams were never destined to be realized. On June 9, 2017, Yingying told her friends she was heading off campus to meet a real estate agent and sign a new lease. At 1:39 p.m., she sent a text to the real estate agent, letting him know she was running about half an hour late and would arrive at 2:10 p.m. This would be the last message Yingying ever sent. She never made it to that meeting. The agent texted her at 2:40 p.m. to ask where she was, but his message went unanswered. He eventually left to meet another client. As the hours crept by, a deep sense of unease settled over her friends. They knew Yingying's plan was straightforward: sign a contract and come straight back to campus. She had no other appointments or places to be. They flooded her phone with calls and texts, but the silence on the other end was absolute. Her fiancé in China, accustomed to their daily calls, also found himself unable to reach her. This was highly unusual and deeply suspicious. That evening, her friends on campus, their worry now turning to dread, contacted the police and officially reported her as a missing person. The police initially theorized that Yingying might just be spending time with a friend, a common occurrence with young adults, and their search began with some reluctance. However, once they had questioned all her friends and learned nothing new, the situation grew more serious. They discovered there had been no activity on her bank cards, and her phone was untraceable. At this point, the police launched a full-scale, active search. Yingying's phone had been turned off at 2:28 p.m. on the day she vanished and was never switched on again. A thorough search by campus police yielded no sightings of the missing student. The news of Yingying's disappearance exploded, becoming a major headline in both China and the United States. An initial reward of $10,000 was offered for any information that could lead to her location. Upon learning of the devastating news, her parents and fiancé immediately flew to Illinois, offering a $50,000 reward for any information that would bring their beloved Yingying home. Her parents and fiancé became active participants in the search, vowing not to leave the country until Yingying was found. Given the international gravity of the case, FBI agents were brought in to assist. They traced Yingying's phone to its last known location, a bus stop near the campus. As Yingying didn't own a car, she relied on public transportation, specifically the bus system. CCTV footage became the critical next step. It showed her boarding a bus at 1:35 p.m. She disembarked at 1:52 p.m. to make a transfer, but a moment of bad luck saw her on the wrong side of the road. She missed the connecting bus and was filmed running after it in a futile attempt to catch it. The cameras then captured her walking toward the next bus stop. That's when a four-door Saturn Astra drove past her. The vehicle then circled back and pulled up beside her at approximately 2:03 p.m. After a brief conversation with the driver, Yingying got into the car. It drove away, and she was never seen on any surveillance camera again. The driver was the last person to see her alive, but frustratingly, the car's license plate was unreadable in the footage. The FBI now faced a daunting task: identifying the driver of that car. Their investigation revealed that there were 18 black, four-door Saturn Astras registered in the Champaign area. However, the surveillance footage showed one distinguishing feature on the suspect's vehicle: a cracked hubcap. During the painstaking investigation, all 18 cars were examined. Only one vehicle matched perfectly, possessing not only the cracked hubcap from the video, but also a sunroof. The owner of this car was 28-year-old Brent Christensen. Brent, who grew up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, had married his high school sweetheart, Michelle Zortman, in 2011. 2 years later, the couple relocated to Champaign, Illinois, where Brent enrolled in a graduate program at the University of Illinois and even served as a teaching assistant. By 2016, however, he had dropped out. To the outside world, he was a respectable family man, someone who appeared completely trustworthy. Brent had no prior criminal record. When FBI agents first questioned him about his whereabouts on June 9th, he claimed he couldn't remember. He suggested he might have been sleeping at home or playing video games. His wife, Michelle, with whom he claimed to have an open relationship, was out of town with another man. He consented to a search of his apartment and car. The FBI immediately noticed something odd. The interior on the front passenger side of his car had been meticulously cleaned, while the rest of the vehicle remained dirty. This was a major red flag. Typically, a car is washed entirely or not at all. This looked like a targeted cleanup, as if someone needed to remove a specific stain. A preliminary search of his apartment turned up no immediate clues. FBI agents then escorted Brent to the police station for a more formal interview. He flatly denied ever seeing Yingying, let alone giving her a ride. But when confronted with the irrefutable CCTV footage, Brent's story changed. He admitted he was driving by when he saw a young woman who looked upset and desperate. He claimed he stopped to offer help. According to his new story, Yingying told him she was late for an appointment, so he offered a ride, which she accepted. Brent then alleged that Yingying panicked after he made a wrong turn just a few blocks later. He claimed she frantically tried to open the locked passenger door. Brent said he then pulled over, let her out of the car, and watched her walk away, insisting he never saw her again. When asked by the FBI for a better description of the young woman, he dismissively said he had trouble identifying Asians and that picking her up was a mistake because it had made him a suspect. The evidence against him was purely circumstantial, not enough for an arrest. The FBI had no choice but to let Brent go, but they knew they had their man. They immediately began a covert investigation, monitoring his every move and digging deeper to find the evidence they needed to prove his involvement in Yingying's disappearance. They soon discovered that Brent was harboring some truly dark secrets. In March 2017, he had visited a therapist, telling her during their sessions that he was consumed by thoughts of murder and was fascinated by serial killers, with a particular admiration for Ted Bundy. He boasted that he knew how to kill someone without leaving a trace of evidence and get away with it. Brent also confessed to the therapist that his life was unraveling. He had started drinking heavily, and his wife, Michelle, who had taken a lover, was now asking for a divorce. He was deeply unhappy with their open relationship and did not want to separate. It also emerged that shortly before Yingying disappeared, Brent had met a woman named Tara Bullis on a dating site. They connected over a shared interest in BDSM and began meeting at his apartment. They established a dynamic where Brent was dominant and Tara was submissive. Brent even introduced Tara to his wife, who was aware of their affair due to their open relationship. Tara was also seeing other men. She introduced Brent to a BDSM forum where he began exploring disturbing topics, including abduction. A forensic analysis of his computer revealed search queries filled with terms like kidnapping, abduction, cleaning products, how iPhone tracking works, and searches for news about Yingying herself. He was clearly researching how to kidnap someone, how to disable a phone's tracking, how to clean up blood, and was actively following the search for the very girl he had taken. But even this wasn't enough for an arrest. They needed more, preferably a confession. FBI agents approached his new girlfriend, Tara, and asked for her help in the investigation. She bravely agreed and was fitted with a wire. On June 29th, Brent and Tara attended a memorial walk for Yingying, where the missing girl's loved ones made tearful, public pleas for her safe return home. Throughout the event, Brent was drinking and smiling. At one point, he leaned in and whispered into Tara's ear, "They'll go home empty-handed, cause no one will ever know where Yingying is." He then took Tara's phone, opened the Notes app, and typed, "It was me. She is number 13. She is gone forever." Brent then drew the number 13 on Tara's hand. A wave of terror washed over her, and the recording captured a loud thump, the sound of her own heart pounding in her chest. She was terrified, but he continued, as if he was trying to impress her. Unaware that Tara was working with the FBI and that his every word was being recorded, a drunk Brent began to recount the gruesome details of Yingying's final moments. And he smiled as he spoke. "I took her clothes off and just started doing things to her," he said. "She tolerated everything. I tried to strangle her, but it didn't work. I strangled her for 10 minutes, then I let her go. She was breathing. I couldn't believe she was still alive. She fought harder than anyone I've ever met. Yingying is the only person I got wrong, and the trail is now coming back to me," he continued. "She was the 13th. I've been doing this since I was 19. Brent told Tara how he dragged Yingying's body into his apartment's bathroom and bludgeoned her over the head with a baseball bat as hard as he could. He then stabbed her in the neck and decapitated her. "I chopped her head off, and that was it," Brent stated flatly. On the tape, he compared himself to his idol, Ted Bundy, boasted that his supposed 13 victims were more than Jeffrey Dahmer and John Gacy combined, and smugly declared that he had the entire nation's attention. These tapes were the damning evidence that sealed his fate. Brent was arrested the very next day. He initially tried to bluff, pretending to be an undercover police officer, and refused to confess. His apartment was subjected to a thorough forensic search. Using luminol, FBI agents discovered a bloody handprint on the wall next to Brent's bed and in the bathroom. They also found blood on the passenger door of his car. A large blood stain was found on his mattress, and a cadaver dog detected the scent of human remains in the bathroom. DNA from Yingying's toothbrush was a match for the blood found on a baseball bat, his mattress, the carpet, and in the bathroom. GPS data from his car confirmed he was at the scene of the abduction and that Yingying had been in his vehicle. Receipts for trash bags and powerful cleaning supplies were found in his apartment. Furthermore, his Amazon history showed he had purchased a massive sports duffel bag, presumably large enough to carry Yingying's remains out of the building undetected. On the day of her disappearance, at 4:53 p.m., he had texted Tara, "How was your day? I'm exhausted." Under the crushing weight of the evidence, Brent finally confessed to everything. Brent was miserable about his wife's open relationship. He was enraged when she left for a romantic weekend at a resort in the Wisconsin Dells with her new boyfriend on June 9th, the very same resort where Brent and Michelle had spent their honeymoon. That morning, at 7:45 a.m., he went to a liquor store and bought a large bottle of cheap rum. Back at home, he drank to numb the pain, then shaved and went out to hunt for a victim. Brent spent hours driving around drunk, searching for someone to prey on. He first targeted a fellow graduate student from the university, Emily Hogan, as she walked to a bus stop. She didn't know him. He pulled up and claimed to be an undercover police officer, asking her to get in his car to answer some questions. She wisely refused and ran away. He drove off. Emily later identified him and posted warnings on her Facebook page about a fake cop in the area. But this was after Yingying had already disappeared. After Emily's refusal, Brent continued his search and spotted Yingying. He used the same lie, telling her he was a police officer and offering her a ride. She believed him, seeing what she thought was a police badge and radio, and got into his car. Once Yingying was inside, he drove toward his apartment, took her phone, and turned it off. Brent tied her hands, took her to his apartment, and there, he raped her, killed her, and dismembered her body. He then bought cleaning supplies and began scrubbing the house and car, but he failed to clean under the carpet or behind the baseboards, which is where investigators found the crucial blood evidence. He tried to claim it was all unplanned, a spontaneous act of impulse, but the searches on his computer proved he had been preparing for it. Brent was charged with kidnapping resulting in death and 2 counts of making false statements to federal agents. He was facing the death penalty. The trial commenced in June 2019. His defense lawyer argued that Brent was a smart man who had made it to graduate school. He had suffered from depression since he was a teenager and struggled with low self-esteem. Brent had admitted to his psychoanalyst that his mother was an alcoholic, that he had no relationship with his siblings, and that he had no friends. He often battled suicidal thoughts. At the time of the murder, he was plagued by mental health issues, sleep problems, and substance abuse, which was why he was seeing a psychoanalyst. According to the lawyer, Brent's fragile mental state was shattered when his wife asked for a divorce, sending him into a downward spiral. As this was presented, Brent sat in the courtroom, wiping tears from his eyes. His lawyer admitted Brent had committed the horrific crime, but pleaded with the jury to spare his life, a mercy he had not shown his victim. His wife, Michelle, supported him throughout the trial. She testified that she had seen the enormous duffel bag and saw Brent leave with it on June 12th. She claimed the bag had no odor and that he slung it over his shoulder with ease. Based on this, she argued that there couldn't have been a body inside, that it must have been something light. However, she also conceded that the bag was large enough to hold a person and that her husband was strong enough to lift Yingying's weight. Michelle admitted she noticed new cleaning products in their apartment and stains on the carpet. Brent had told her he'd had a nosebleed, which is why he bought the supplies to clean it up. None of this, she claimed, raised any suspicions, despite the significant size of the stain. In a recorded jailhouse call, she told Brent that Tara had framed him and that Tara should be carried out of the courtroom on a stretcher, unconscious. While Brent confessed to the act at trial, he refused to reveal where he had put Yingying's body. On July 18, 2019, after just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Brent guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His wife later moved to another state and changed her last name to start a new life. Tara sought intensive psychological help after the trial, haunted by the horrors Brent had described to her. She suffered from panic attacks, a lasting scar from her close contact with a killer. A suicide note was later found in Brent's prison cell. Whether it was a genuine attempt or simply another cry for attention, he was placed in solitary confinement under strict observation. Although Brent had bragged to Tara that Yingying was his 13th victim, no evidence ever surfaced to support this claim. He denied it at his trial. FBI analysts reviewed 19 unsolved missing persons cases in Illinois and Wisconsin, sending Brent's DNA to the relevant police departments for comparison, but there were no matches. He most likely invented the story to impress Tara. Brent seemed to believe his new BDSM-loving girlfriend would be enthralled by his story, but he was profoundly mistaken. Yingying's family was devastated by the verdict. They firmly believed her killer deserved the death penalty. After learning their daughter had been so brutally murdered, all her parents wanted was the chance to bury her. It was another soul-crushing blow when they learned her body would likely never be found. The grief-stricken parents begged Brent to reveal the location of their daughter's remains. He finally told his lawyers that he had placed her dismembered body into 3 separate garbage bags and tossed them into a dumpster at his apartment complex. Her phone, books, and backpack were thrown into a different dumpster. He claimed they all likely ended up in a landfill. Investigators confirmed that the dumpster at his apartment complex had been emptied 3 days after Yingying disappeared. The contents were taken to a private landfill, where the trash was compacted at least twice, buried under layers of new refuse, and spread across a vast area. This made any search for her remains a virtual impossibility, and no search was ever conducted. Her phone, books, and backpack were never recovered. The only consolation for Yingying's family is that this monster will spend the rest of his life behind bars, never able to harm another soul. Her parents filed a lawsuit against the psychoanalyst Brent was seeing, arguing he failed to report Brent's obsessive homicidal thoughts to the police. However, the lawsuit was dismissed. The court ruled that unless a patient poses a threat to a specific, identifiable person, a psychoanalyst, like any doctor, is bound by confidentiality and cannot report such thoughts to the authorities. A memorial stone was erected in Yingying Zhang's honor on the campus of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, a permanent tribute to the life she lived there. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's meet in the comments to discuss this powerful story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.